Thank you, Andy. I enjoyed that a lot, thank you very much. I've been asked to remind everyone there is a guest book that we can all sign. I've not been told where it is, but I've been asked to remind you that there is one. So for those of you who don't know me, my name's Mark, although given Andy's speech you all know who I am by now. And I've known Andy since he was a little younger than he is now. And I'm so glad to see that Andy has finally settled down, because by his age, most men in Burnley have 2 or even 3 wives. That's the only racist joke in the speech. At the last wedding I went to, the father of the bride said that a good speech should last as long as the groom does in bed.
You better sit down, Mark.
And then, of course, he sat straight back down. I wonder how much Andy paid Phil to speak for quite so long as he did. However, Phil, on a personal note, I'd like to thank you for the even longer speech you did at my wedding. But I was very excited when Andy asked me to be his best man. In particular, I was very much looking forward to copping off with the chief bridesmaid during the reception. You can imagine how disappointed I was to find that the chief bridesmaid was the wife. So it's definitely not going to happen. But joking aside, I was actually a bit worried when Andy asked me to be his best man. I think he was setting me up to fail when he chose a southern softie like me to give a speech to a bloodthirsty Lancashire audience. I decided to get some advice from a friend. Apparently, all I need to do to keep you on side is to poke fun at Yorkshire folk.
You've been trying for 10 years.
I think we're going to be just fine. But unusually for the best man, I've known the bride longer than I've known the groom. I remember the day when I first met Andy. Laura invited us to the pub so that we could meet the new man in her life. He was a very cocksure young lad. I didn't quite know what to make of him. He really didn't seem very serious about anything, but we're glad he's shown how serious he is about Laura. And Laura, I can say with all honesty that I've never known him happier than since he's been with you. So I've had to ask some of Andy's older friends to dish the dirt on him and give me some good stories. Unfortunately, as is often the case with these things, they were all rubbish. So instead, I'm going to exercise a little bit of artistic license. So anyway, as I was saying, I first met Andy, or Dynasty as she was known back then, when she needed help with her costume before going on stage at Funny Girls in Blackland. Hold on, I've got the cue cards mixed up from a civil partnership I did last week. You're off the hook. But I did some research to find some more about Andy. And I had a look at the papers from the day when Andy was born. And they were very, very revealing. Typically, they led with the christening of Prince William in the music room at Buckingham Palace. But on the very same day, the Burnley Express led with unusually gobby baby boy born in local hospital. Eager to learn more about Burnley's finest son, I tried to speak to some of Andy's school friends, but it turns out that he never went to school. And why would he, when he already knows everything about any subject? spoiler alert for this card, you might have heard this story already. You might not know the story of how Andy proposed to Laura. It happened almost...
No, I didn't mention it. No, that must have been... No.
It happened almost exactly a year ago to the day, while we were all on a skiing holiday in France. Ever the romantic, he put all men to shame by taking Laura to the top of the highest mountain in the area, with beautiful views of 3 countries and every peak in the Alps. But you didn't know that. Lucky for him, she said yes. Otherwise, the rest of the holiday would have been very, very awkward for us. It shows how perfect they are for one another. They skied back down a dangerous black run together to tell us all the good news. But since then, it's been a whirlwind year of wedding preparation. When me, Phil, and I'm just big-boned Andy went for our suit fitting, Andy took the mickey out of us because we were all the same waist size. Unfortunately for him, by the time we got to the second fitting, he had gone up a size and we had stayed the same. So, the suit fitter said that Andy has the joint largest bum and thighs he has ever seen. The only time he'd seen anything like it before was when he fitted Beyonce Knowles with her famous catsuit for the Single Ladies video. And all those on the stag do will know that he shakes his booty just as well as he. But seriously, when I think of Andy, I think of 2 things. The first is that he has an unquestioning desire to help people. I have known him to be a chauffeur, carer, house clearer, lifesaver, and if his stories are to be believed, a part-time miracle worker. When people talk about Andy, they say he's a good 'un or a rough diamond. First on scene when anyone needs help. He helped me out so much at my own wedding that he was like an honorary best man. Although given his desperation to get the speeches out of the way before the meal today, maybe it's for the best he was an usher. The second thing I think of when I think of Andy is that he would let you believe he's an expert in things that he really knows absolutely nothing about. In another life, Andy would have been either a superhero or a taxi driver. How appropriate then that his chosen profession as a paramedic is a wonderful, perfect mix of the 2. But there is one girl who isn't here who has a very special place in Andy's heart, and I'm going to need a prop to talk about her. I thought I was getting a microphone, so this should be fun.
You have to sing one. Fan earplugs with reception.
Right. And I'm going to cheat and use my cue cards for this as well. So no peeking Laura. That's out of tune. That's better. Andy thought he had no chance in his search to find romance. It came from being teased when he was young. Too short for basketball. Too fat to be a jockey. The only option left was the girly sport of hockey. It must have really hurt as he stood there in his skirt. And all the pretty girls were passing by. But it was love at first sight on a cold and fateful night when a golden-haired retriever caught his eye. So now there are 2 girls in Andy's life who compete to be his wife. He'd like to have and hold them both together. One he keeps locked up in the house when he's at work. She begs for scraps, sleeps on a mat, and the other one is Bella. Unfortunately, it's written in statute in the parish of Clitheroe that canine bigamy would be a crime. If only you'd been smarter, that could have wed in Yorkshire. Where that sort of thing happens all the time. So that just leaves me to toast the bride and groom. Not Bella, Andy and Laura.
Very good, man.
Thank you.